You are listening to the Tuesday Eastern Conference edition of the Locked On NHL podcast. I'm Ross Levitan from Locked On Senators alongside Mike DiStefano from Locked On Leafs on the heels of a sweep of the President's Trophy winning Florida Panthers. Mikey's got an unreal stat about how the President's Trophy may as well be a curse of its own, and we'll get into Andrei Vasilevskiy's absolute greatness. All that plus the New York Rangers stayed alive, and where do the Florida Panthers go from here? We'll get into all that and more. This is the Locked On NHL podcast, your team every day.
Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen on this Tuesday, May 24th. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where we'd appreciate if you can subscribe. The quickest way to help us grow is to leave a comment. And I want to ask where the hell the Florida Panthers are going from here. I want you to answer that in the comments. I'll ask Mikey later on, but the Panthers are dead, dude. Absolutely road stomped by the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Dead. They are D-E-D, dead. You are dead. Dead.
What do they do, man? They come into this series, offense and power play is what led them here. They were one of the highest scoring teams in the salary cap era, if not the highest. And they scored 3 goals in 4 games.
3 goals. This team scored 3 goals. One of the wild stats that I saw floating out there tonight is that the Florida Panthers, or as I want to start calling them now, as the fraudulent Panthers, they've been shut out 0 times this season. 0 times. They scored a goal in every single game. Regular season, playoffs, they at least got one behind the goaltender. This was the first time all season long that a team was able to blank the Panthers, and it just so happened to be a sweep, a series clinching game, which, let's face it, we knew was going to happen, right? We know the stats, we know the facts when it comes to Andrei Vasilevskiy in series clinching games. This is just going to happen. This is just going to happen. I mean, we could pull this up and bring this up right now. There is an insane stat pack for Andrei Vasilevskiy in his last 7 series clinching games, dating back to the first time that they won on their first run. So they lose out in the 4 game. They get swept by Columbus. They haven't lost a series since being swept by Columbus. And in the 7 series clinching games there, a 7-0 record, a .995 save percentage from Andrei Vasilevskiy, a .14 goals against with 6 shutouts out of 7 games, Ross. 6 shutouts, and he's allowed 1 goal. 1 goal in 7 series clinching games. Happened to be to my Maple Leafs, just saying. That's the Stanley Cup right there. Who cares about the first round? We didn't get out of the first round, but at least we scored on Vasilevskiy in a series clinching game. No one else could say that. No one else. So
it might even be more rare. This is unbelievable. It's not like he's making 15, 20 save shutouts. 49 stops tonight for Vasilevskiy, many of them of the highlight reel variety. But Mikey, it was the one that came ever so close to even a shot on goal. That was probably as close as Florida got. 1-0, time ticking away. A little wobbler goes.
I know.
He played that so nonchalant.
I know. It was insane. I mean, right at the end there was one also kind of hit the crossbar with about 5-6 minutes left in the game. Like, there was a couple of opportunities that they had. I mean, they threw 49 shots at the guy. It's not like Florida didn't show up. They certainly did, but Andrei Vasilevskiy in a series clinching game is unbeatable, literally. I mean, he has been ever since he lost out in that 4-game sweep. He's been unbeatable in series clinching games. The Leafs found that out the hard way, and the fraudulent Panthers found that out tonight. It was maybe one of the best goal. Where do you put Andrei Vasilevskiy at this point in time on the Mount Rushmore of goaltenders?
I'd probably put him as the 4th guy. And again, we're probably a little era adjusted. I don't think you or I are putting Ken Dryden on the list. I think our dads could backhand us if they hear us say that sort of thing. But if we're talking about, let's say, the modern era era in terms of like butterfly style goaltenders where it's Hasek and Brodeur, and sure, Brodeur more of a hybrid guy. Dominic Hasek diving all over the place. To me, still the greatest goalie of all time. But in a sense, Andrei Vasilevskiy has some Dominic Hasek in him. This is a guy that makes catches behind his back. He scorpion kicks. He does absolutely anything necessary to keep the puck out. Oh, and he's 6'5". So not only does he have the athleticism that Dominic Hasek had, sprawling all over the place, throwing his stick, using his blocker to freeze pucks, but he does it in such a large frame that he is simply unbeatable. And all this talk, and rightfully so, I saw a stat about Connor McDavid, I guess, that he, through 10 games, would have led like 6 different full playoffs in scoring over the last couple decades. We're seeing that same level of greatness in goal with Andrei Vasilevskiy. He is right there with the best goalies of all time. And when the pressure rises to the most, he gets his best efforts out. It's unbelievable. So much fun to watch. And I know there's some people that cheer for dynasties and some people who want every other team to be miserable until their own team wins. I respect both thought processes. But if you take a step back and just watch what Andrei Vasilevskiy does game in and game out, it's truly remarkable. It's special. We should really all take a deep breath and really appreciate what we're watching here.
Yeah, it's spectacular. And when you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning as a whole and the fact that they're able to sweep the Florida Panthers, the President's Trophy, Florida Panthers, a team who did nothing but score goals in a year where goal scoring is up, the team as a whole, I mean, like, yes, Vasilevskiy is the guy, right? He is clearly the best goaltender in the NHL, best goalie on the planet. But I mean, as a whole, that team only gave up 3 goals this entire series. 3 goals. That's all they gave up against the number 1 offense in the NHL throughout the regular season. It was just a clinic, and doing it all without Braden Point at that. He's one of the best two-way guys that they have on their team. It truly was not. I expected Tampa to win the series. I thought it'd go 6 or 7. A 4-game sweep, and a pretty easy sweep by all means. I mean, I never once thought that Florida was going to win a game. I mean, Tampa, there may have been a couple of close ones, but they were always in control. I mean, it was definitely something that I was not anticipating. But here's a crazy stat for you when it comes to the President's Trophy curse. Do you believe in the President's Trophy curse, Ross?
Yeah, I certainly do.
You certainly do. And here's some facts to back it up, some stats to back it up. In 2019, the Tampa Bay Lightning won the President's Trophy. Remember that year? They were just they had like 126, but they were just ridiculous.
It was Kucherov and the team were going back and forth for who had the most points.
Yeah,
I think they tied at 126.
And then exactly, and ended up tying the Red Wings for most all time or something like that. They got swept. They lost 4 straight games in the first round, swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets. The following year, the Boston Bruins win themselves a President's Trophy. They won game 1, but then lost the next 4 games to the Tampa Bay Lightning in the second round. The Colorado Avalanche won it in last season. They won games 1 and 2 in the second round against the Vegas Golden Knights and then lost 4 straight. Wow. And this year, the Florida Panthers, losing 4 straight, swept. The last 4 President's Trophy winners have all lost 4 straight games en route to playoff elimination.
Wow.
Insane.
And now since that upset in 2019, now the Lightning have beaten Sergei Bobrovsky in back-to-back years.
Yeah. The Lightning have gone out there. The Lightning haven't lost a series since that sweep. The one year that they don't win the President's Trophy is the year that, or the year that they win the President's Trophy is the year they don't get it done. So they say, you know what? Let's just hold off. We'll kind of walk into the playoffs, and then we'll sprint at the kind of like Rich Strike. You know what I mean? Rich Strike. I don't know if you watched the race a couple of weeks ago. It was unbelievable. But
yeah.
It wasn't until the playoffs, or it wasn't until the final leg, where that guy just decided, boom, I'm taking off, and I'm going to win myself the Kentucky Derby. And that's exactly what it seems like the Lightning are doing. They're like, hey, you guys can hold pole position for a while, but on the final leg, once the playoffs roll around, boom, we're off. We're going to take this bad boy. And that's what they've done 2 years in a row, and they're 8 more wins away from making it a 3rd straight year. Holy, that's insane.
Absolutely insane. And I think you have the edge right now from our goalie draft a few weeks ago. I still stand with Igor. We'll get to the Rangers series a little later because he stole that game for them yesterday. I think he had 40-some saves. As a goalie-friendly show on Locked On Senators, I need Shesterkin versus Vasilevskiy in the Eastern Conference Final. I need it. And I need to smash the under at BetOnline when that does happen as well. But to me, the most fascinating part of this series is the fact that the red-hot Florida Panthers, not only their offense, but their power play. They didn't even score a power play goal in their series win against Washington, one of only 3 teams in the last decade to do that. And then last night, they had a power play with a minute and a half left in the game. They had the goalie pulled 6-on-4, and they barely get a chance.
So I got a question. Like, I was surprised they didn't pull the goalie until
130, 135.
Yeah, they got the penalty with 2:30 left in the game. Why wouldn't you just pull the goalie then go 6-on-4, like right away? I mean, you got to get it done. And Andrew Brunette's been extremely aggressive all year long. I mean, look back to when he did it last time against the Washington Capitals, how it worked out for them. They should have been down 3-1, but instead it worked out. They ended up scoring. They went 2-2, and then they went on to win the series, obviously. But tonight it seemed like he didn't get aggressive. And at the end of the day, I mean, you can't change your game plan. And that's what the Tampa Bay Lightning kind of make you do, especially as a coach. They make you change your game plan. They make you switch things up. They make you second guess yourself. And if you second guess yourself against the Tampa Bay Lightning, curtains, man, curtains. And to me, that's kind of what happened late in that game. I can't think of a good reason. I know what they say. If you're only down by a goal, typically a minute and a half. But, I mean, this is the playoffs. It's the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's 6-on-4. Like, you have a power play. If it was regulation, sure. But you have a power play. Go 6-on-4 and give yourself the best opportunity. You get those full 2 minutes, and then by the time it's over, whatever, you've got 30 seconds at 6-on-5. It didn't make much sense to me why they waited an entire minute before pulling Bobrovsky there. To me, that was a bit of a misstep.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense at all. I don't know what they were thinking. I think Andrew Brunette didn't realize how often the camera was on him. He looked like a deer in the headlights every time. And maybe you're at the same time kind of in awe at what's going on at the other end, because each game, different guys stepped up. Nick Paul led this Lightning team in ice time in 3 of the 4 games. Tonight, it was Nikita Kucherov. This is among forwards only because, Hedman's playing 27, 28 minutes every night, but it was different guys. It was Ross Colton scoring the game winner with 3 seconds left earlier in the series off a great feed from Nikita Kucherov. But this is a team, like in the Leaf series, I noticed Cal Foote step up as a guy who looked really comfortable. And then I look and he's playing 8 minutes a game in this Florida series because they're just alternating. One game it's Jan Ruta stepping up, Sergachev will step up, but Bogosian's even played some big minutes. Like, they are getting contributions. Corey Perry scores another huge goal the other night. Like, they're getting contributions from absolutely everyone. They're peaking at the right time. And I would not want to play the Tampa Bay Lightning if I'm any team, let alone whether it's the New York Rangers coming back or the Carolina Hurricanes here in the conference final.
Yeah, that's why they're the back-to-back champions, man. Back-to-back champs, dude. And, I mean, you got to love it. You got to love the way that team's going out there. The way that they're built, it's better than anything I think we've seen in the salary cap era. It's almost unfair how well this team is built. Speaking of built, why don't we talk about one of today's show sponsors? That's Built Bar. Ross, I love brownies. I do. But you know what I love more than brownies? The batter, dude. Brownie batter. Sometimes I swear I eat half the batter just when I'm sitting there making the brownies. Like, imagine if you could just sit there, lick the brownie spatula clean, and get some protein out of it. Guess what, pal?
Sign me up.
You're in luck, dude. The Built has a new creation, and this is one better than ever. The Brownie Batter Puff. You heard me right. This puff takes protein bars to a whole new level, and they're available right now on Built.com. Have you tried the Built Puffs yet? I'm not sure what you are waiting for. These puffs are covered in 100% chocolate. They're marshmallowy protein bars. That's right. Marshmallowy protein bars covered in 100% real chocolate. All Built Puffs are covered in chocolate. That means that the Built that you can eat, they're healthy and you actually can enjoy them. And they're made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. The Brownie Batter Puffs will have you completely forgetting they're eating a protein bar. No need to pinch yourself. It's real life. Go to Built.com to get the Brownie Batter Puffs now. Go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com.
You are listening to the Locked On NHL podcast, the Eastern Conference edition. I'm Ross Levitan. You can find my work at Locked On Senators on Twitter at Ross Levitan. The show is at Sen Central. You can follow Locked On Leafs and at Mikey_Canuck for Mikey and his great work. All right, so we're into it. We already talked about a sweep for the Tampa Bay Lightning over the Florida Panthers. They will await the winner between the Carolina Hurricanes and New York Rangers. But before we get to that, we have to talk about the Florida Panthers' future because they were all in. And you want to see teams that risk be rewarded so that at trade deadline in years to come, Mikey, we don't have situations where guys are gun shy giving up so much. The Florida Panthers don't have a first-round pick until 2025. They gave up prospects to get Claude Giroux.
Yeah.
And you know what they're left with? They got what? 5 extra home games worth of revenue?
Yeah, I guess so. That would mean they got 5 extra games. That's essentially what that means. Although, did they really get 5 extra games? I mean, they probably could have also got those without having to make those deals.
Yeah.
If you're on it, like if you're completely honest, I mean, would they have needed Sherratt and Giroux to win that first round? I don't know. They were already leading the East when they made those deals. So who knows? Who knows if they would have even needed those to get that? But at the end of the day, I think we all applauded them for, going for it and trying to make some big time moves. But at the end of the day, it didn't work. Only one team can be the champ at the end of the day, and it's clearly not going to be the Florida Panthers. But man, like if you look at their cap friendly, I'm curious what is going to happen with this team going forward. Because like you said, no picks. But also, there's some contracts that are going to need to be dealt with at some point here. Are they going to be as good next year, do you think, Ross?
Well, they have 8 unrestricted free agents, and they have enough cap hit that couldn't even fill what Claude Giroux made with half his salary retained on Philadelphia this year. They are currently sitting with $3.9 million in cap space. Giroux himself was at 4.1 with Florida. So you got to expect that he's gone. How about Mason Marchment? A fantastic story at 800,000. Has been pumping out points over the last couple seasons. He's due for a raise. You've got, some guys you don't have to worry about, like Joe Thornton, who in all likelihood sailed off into the sunset with 6 minutes of ice time in what was his only game this postseason. But Ben Sherratt, another unrestricted free agent. So they're going to have to move some pieces. Now, where it does help them out is they have a few guys coming. Like I think Matt Kierstad can play a regular top 6 on the back end role. Maybe you get a guy like Denisenko ready, but all in all, like it's a thinner and thinner prospect pool. Like wouldn't you like Owen Tippett to fit in there? But Anton Lundell struggled in the playoffs. He's going to be a big part of the future going forward. But man, for me, it's in the crease. And yes, Sergei Bobrovsky looked great, but $10 million for the next 4 seasons. And when you have Spencer Knight sitting there just wasting away his entry-level contract, knowing what kind of potential he is, this is going to be an interesting offseason for Bill Zito. I hate that it had to happen like this because, again, like we said, you want to see these teams that risk it at least get rewarded to the point where they feel like it's worth what they gave up because it gives us something to talk about around trade deadline time. And he certainly wasn't afraid to put his chips in the middle, but dealer won this one.
Yeah, they certainly did. I'm also looking. They have the most egregious buyout that they're getting stuffed with next year. Keith Yandle's buyout. It's going to cost them $5.3 million against the cap.
Yeah,
$6.5 million in dead cap money through Keith Yandle and Scott Darling buyouts. That $6.5 million could be used so much better. They could probably get Ben Sherratt back under contract for that price. You could probably make a deal and bring back Claude Giroux for about $6.5 million. Noel Acciari needs a new deal. Mason Marchment is going to be a UFA. He had a spectacular year. He's not going to be playing for $800,000 next year. So there's a couple of players there who are making their way off of this team where you look and you say, man, that money could have definitely been used a lot better. Whether it is, again, the $6.5 million in the dead cap or parts of that $10 million that's going towards Sergei Bobrovsky. But yeah, they're going to have an interesting offseason to see what they could do. The good thing is, like, the spine of this team is returning, right? Like, Reinhardt's under contract. Barkov, actually, his new contract kicks in next season. Huberdeau's going into a contract year. You've got Hornqvist, who's under contract next year. Bennett, Duclair, Verhaeghe's contract gets extended.
How about Duclair signing a 3x3 and then being a healthy scratch multiple times this postseason?
Yeah, I'd wonder if like that's one of the guys. If you're somebody who is looking to, like, if you're the Panthers and you're looking to create salary cap, that's a guy you got to try and move.
They just signed him. He
Well,
scored 30 goals this year.
But I know,
and you can say his line mates help, but he had, I think, 20 in Ottawa before he got dealt. Like, he's a good player. Like, maybe it didn't work out. He only had one goal this postseason, but
yeah.
I mean, Lundell only had one goal and no assists. So it was just a weird one for the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, it was, absolutely. So we'll see what ends up happening with that squad. It's going to be an interesting offseason for them, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we certainly will. I'm really excited to find out. Also excited to get your opinion on the New York Rangers and Carolina Hurricanes, who are getting set for Game 4 tonight. All right, Mikey, it's the Locked On NHL podcast, Eastern Conference edition. You can follow us on social media, Locked On NHL. We're free and available on all platforms. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day or watch. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe there. And the best way to help the show grow is to let us know in the comments what you think of the show and what the hell are the Florida Panthers going to do. But I also want to know what the hell my New York Rangers are going to do. We've been on this all year long. I got my blue, red, and white pom-poms, and no, not Montreal Canadiens colors, New York Rangers, Madison Square Garden, absolute electric factory on Game 3. Igor Shesterkin looked unbeatable, but that's the way the Carolina Hurricanes look at home. They're 6-0 there. How are you handicapping not only tomorrow's Game 4, but the rest of this series?
We were both on the New York Rangers bandwagon here, I would say, and I thought they came out and they finally played a solid game in Game 3, and at home. It kind of re-energized and rejuvenated this squad, and Igor looked fantastic in that game as well, made some big-time stops. I'll be honest, like, I've been so impressed with what we've seen out of Antti Raanta. Like, I thought this guy, I had them losing to Boston because I wasn't sure the goaltending was going to hold up. And here he is, playing some pretty solid hockey through, a round plus 3 games. I think he's played 10, right? Because through 10 games. He missed a couple with injury, I guess, but he's played well, and he's giving the Carolina Hurricanes every opportunity to keep it rolling. I did see that Fred Anderson is now traveling with the team, which is fascinating to see.
I wouldn't put him in.
No? Why not?
No, because I like the way Ranta's playing. .939 save percentage. He's allowed 15 goals on 246 shots. He's got a shutout mixed in there, a goals against under 2. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I know firsthand, Freddie Lalime, not ideal come Game 7s or important situations from time to time in the past. So I think that with Freddie Anderson, it's a great bullet to have in the chamber, but why use it unless you have to?
You said Freddie Lalime for a second, and I was like, what the hell does Freddie Lalime have to do with anything?
3 straight Game 7s where he absolutely pooped it.
Yeah, so Fred Anderson's not too far off from doing that as well, right? So,
that's where he gets the nickname.
Exactly. That's why it took me a second to get there.
I know, because I've said it so many times on our show that it just rolls off the tongue. You probably think it's actually Freddie Lalime.
Well, to be honest, I wasn't sure if it was just a slip of the tongue. You meant to say Freddie Anderson, and then
Freudian slip.
That's what I thought. But anyways, I think you look at what they did in Pittsburgh and how that kind of backfired on them when Tristan Jarry, came into play in Game 7, and they ended up losing that. But not that I think that was kind of a different situation. Domingue wasn't playing as good as we're seeing out of Antti Raanta, but
he's not ultimately either.
Yeah, ultimately though, like I think that I think the Rangers still have a chance to come out and win. I mean, they win this game tomorrow. They've got all the momentum going back into Carolina. Now, Carolina hasn't lost a game at home yet because they alternated games against the Boston Bruins, and they went 2-0 in their first couple of games as well. So it's going to be tough for the New York Rangers, considering that they don't have home ice advantage. They do got to take one eventually in Carolina. But, man, the way Igor played the other night, the way that it seems like this offense kind of started to wake up in Game 3, I think that they'll be fine. I'm just kind of perplexed that this team isn't scoring more. Like, they have so much talent, and they're just not scoring. I mean, both ends, realistically. Like, we've seen the unders hit in these games quite a bit, and they both have so much offensive talent. And in a year where offense is skyrocketing, we're not quite seeing that in this series to a whole lot, are we?
No, not at all. And you got to give credit where it's due, man. The defensive structure, and not only that, but when called upon, both these goalies have just been unbelievable. And I think that's kind of been the story of the playoffs. Like, everywhere you look, every series, I feel like you're getting a fantastic goaltending performance, either that or like exceptionally bad. But you know what's crazy? When I say exceptionally bad, I'm looking at a few games out of Mike Smith, and then you go for the playoffs. He's got a .933 save percentage. Like, that's absolutely remarkable. It's actually one of the best in the entire postseason. So there's just been incredible. 9 goalies have above .930 save percentages this postseason. And yeah, a couple of them have only played a little bit, like your boy Eric Kallgren got half a game in there. Kallgren. Okay, when he plays 11 games, I'll earn it, or 2. No. In all honesty, like, there's a couple of guys here. The other two are DeSmith and Vladar, both barely played. So if we're taking those guys out, I mean, you're still looking at a decent chunk of goalies here who have just been unbelievable. Binnington, Jake Ottinger, we saw what he did. Ranta, Georgiev got into a couple of games after Shesterkin got pulled. So I mean, I'm a goalie friendly guy, but all that to say, this offense that we saw all season long, you knew it would tighten up a little bit. Like, it's playoff hockey, you know, even just the way that coaches are so mistake adverse. They want to be as safe as possible. Don't give up the odd man rushes the other way. Don't take bad penalties. And what we're also getting out of this is just unbelievable goaltending. So that's kind of what I'm drawing this postseason up to. And I know we have had some high scoring games. Hello, Battle of Alberta game 1. But at the same time, like, there's been more low scoring, bet the unders rather than anything else this playoff. And you know what? I'm here for that. I think that this postseason has been an incredible stage for the NHL, especially the first year on TNT and ESPN. And the NBA playoffs have been brutal. It's been blowouts every night. So it's perfect time for the NHL to try to sneak in here. And when it's crunch time in a game, what are you going to go for? If you're a casual fan, the 20-point gap in the NBA game, or a tie game, or a 1-goal game here with 2 minutes left. So hopefully this is the start of something special, growing the great game of hockey. I know you and I are up north in Canada where it already is so big, but for it to get to the next level, it has to gain that popularity that baseball, basketball, and football's a pipe dream, but basketball, I think, is the one that's kind of within reach, that you can be like, all right, let's try to take some eyes away from that and put it on this great sport.
Yeah, and I think that they're doing a pretty good job. I mean, there's a lot of people who I follow, let's say on Twitter or Instagram, that typically, you know, in the past few years don't tweet about hockey, don't really care too much about hockey until maybe the final or something like really big happens. But I'm seeing a lot more like casual fans in hockey. You don't even have to be a diehard, like even a casual fan who wants to watch, you know, a game here, a game there throughout a series. But I'm seeing way more people dialed into the playoffs now that it's, you know, down in the States. It's in your face on TNT. It's on ESPN. I mean, realistically, the NHL is also doing their part by quite literally changing up schedules here to make sure that happened. I mean, the Battle of Alberta was, I remember I tweeted it. It was like they were still in the third period, and it was 11:30 local time. Not even here in Ontario, local time, and it's like midway through the third period. I'm like, this is insane. But why did they do that? Because they wanted to make sure that the Masters were done. They wanted to make sure that the NBA playoff game was over, so that they could get as much eyes as possible on this Battle of Alberta game that they started at 10:30 Eastern, which was what that would have been 9:30 local.
8:40.
It was 8:40 local time.
Yeah, 9:40 in my neck of the woods.
Right.
Too many time zones in this country.
Right. So it was. So I meant local time. It was like a 9:30 start.
No, it was 8:45 in Alberta because that's 10:45
Yeah.
your time.
Correct.
That's still late.
It's insanely late, which is why like the game didn't end until almost midnight Friday local time. It was insane, absolutely insane. But again, we're still getting those eyeballs, and I think also what we're seeing out of Connor McDavid, what we're seeing out of performances like Andrei Vasilevskiy, these are helping and allowing hockey to be, talked about. It's becoming water cooler conversations. Dude, did you see that move that Kucherov made to break Ekblad's ankles the other day? Like,
Oh
I
yeah.
had those conversations with people who I don't normally have those discussions with, and someone asked me the other day, like, dude, is it true that Connor McDavid has like 18 points in like 8 games? I'm like, basically, yeah, it's true. And he's like, wow, that's insane. This guy's not a hockey guy at all, but he's
Yeah.
hearing about it through the grapevine or because he's getting the highlights on ESPN. And now he's like, that's insane. I got to watch the next game. And that's how this is all happening. It's growing organically, and it's nice to see. It is nice to see. I don't know if it'll ever become the NBA, definitely not the NFL, but they're at least growing, and that was the hope and plan. And they're giving them a heck of a product in their year one of the contract with ESPN to do their part as well. The NHL is.
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving this. Before we go, I know we're the Eastern Conference edition of Locked On NHL, but Mikey, on Locked On Senators, we follow our hashtag Sens Abroad. Well, there's a Maple Leaf abroad who is certainly making headlines, and we're recording in the middle of the Colorado Avalanche St. Louis Blues game. Clearly, the series with
Nazem the Dream
on hat-trick watch right now as we're recording at 11:15 Eastern, and he just obviously there was that play. And they got into it on Locked On NHL the last couple of days. We don't have to get into the play with Jordan Binnington, the injury, the water bottle, all that craziness that was. Somewhat reminds me of the Ottawa-Montreal series from 2013, the bug-eyed walrus, the comments going back and forth, all that fun. Now, with Colorado and St. Louis, clearly Kadri, public enemy number one in St. Louis, way too far to the extent of threats and all that. But on the ice, Kadri just scored his second goal. And David Perron tried to go Hanson brother, elbow right to the jaw. And Kadri just goes, whoop, little head swipe, and then continues his celly. You got to love that at a old
I gotta go
Maple Leaf.
find that. I gotta go find that and watch that bad boy.
Your boy, your co-host David Morissey just posted it, so you'll be able to see it there. But you got to love these types of storylines in the National Hockey League Stanley Cup playoffs. It is no prisoners out there, and you got to know exactly where everyone is on the ice. The play's already over, but nice dodge for Nazem Kadri.
Yeah. There you go, Nazem. Nazem the Dream. I mean, dude, the guy. I want nothing more than success for that guy, and it's disgusting what we've heard come out of the. Well, I guess Colorado's camp, but we saw Akeem Alou kind of come out and shed some light on it. I don't think Kadri has said a whole lot about what has been going on. It's more so been other people speaking for him, but it's absolutely repulsive and disgusting, some of the stuff that is allegedly being said towards him for, in what my opinion was an accident on Jordan. It's not like the guy completely wanted to run him and injure him. So it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, it certainly is. What would be fortunate is if hockey fans were able to get Tampa versus Colorado in the final.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to ask the hockey gods for too much. We already asked for the Battle of Alberta. We got it. We asked for the Battle of Florida. We got the beatdown of Florida instead.
How would you rate that? How would you rate that before we head out? Give me a rating. Considering we came into it thinking like this is going to be an amazing it was unfortunate that Toronto didn't get to pull through, but at least it gave you the Battle of Florida, which was an unreal series last year. But this year, I mean,
did Florida have a lead after they were up 1-0 in game one? Were they up 1-0 in game two as well? No, they weren't.
No, I don't think so.
Were they up 1-0 in game three? No. They had one lead in this series, and it was the first goal in the series. And it was Anthony Duclair's only goal of the playoffs.
There you go. There you go.
So that kind of tells you what kind of dud of a series. I like my series with the side of lead changes per se. Get a little uncertainty in there. But the Tampa Bay Lightning, they don't care, man. They are a fine-tuned machine. They know they have one goal. They've accomplished it before. Think about a guy like Stamkos, though. He missed all but 5 minutes? No, he took one shift and scored a goal on it in the bubble.
Oh, so a 30-second shift, the greatest shift in playoff history.
Unbelievable shift. No, but a guy like him, he probably wants, obviously this is going to sound stupid, but he wants another one for the reason where it's like everyone calls him a two-time champ, but he's competitive. He's like, was I that much a part of it? Then you have these new guys coming in, the Brandon Hagels, the Nick Pauls, the guys who are hungry for their first, who are pushing these guys, continuing. And I think it was Scotty Bowman that said it, or maybe it was Glenn Say. There's some legendary mind where it's like, even if you're winning, change up a few things just to keep everybody, on their toes a little bit. Yeah. Keep them hungry. And that's what they are. Like I said, Nick Paul has been the best player at times for that team at certain times. Ross Colton, this guy, he was exposed in the expansion draft. This guy's unbelievable.
I know. Fourth round pick, Ross Colton. Unreal.
Hell of a team. And that's where you kind of have to tip your hat if you're the Florida Panthers, who, by the way, I sold them short. They did score a power play goal tonight. Their only power play goal of the postseason.
Yeah. But did I not tell you that, when we did, I think it was a week ago, actually, last Tuesday's podcast.
That was game 3. They scored. I was like, no, it was a shutout tonight. But the last goal they scored.
They did score one goal in the entire series. But, I figured, look, the comeback Cats, they didn't score a single power play goal in the first series, and they had to come back in 3 of the 4 wins that they had to win that. That's not happening against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they proved that wasn't going to happen. They shut the door, and they couldn't recover once they got themselves in a hole, and they couldn't generate on the power play, and ultimately, that's what led to them getting swept in 4 games. Adios, fraudulent Panthers. Adios.
And did we mention they did this without Braden Point?
Like a half hour ago, but yeah.
Yeah, it deserves to be said twice because that's a guy who, if I'm not mistaken, has led the playoffs in goal scoring in back-to-back years.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that sounds correct. That sounds right.
Yeah, let's ride with it.
Yeah, certainly close. One of the top goal scorers in the last 2 years, that's for sure, when it comes to playoffs.
Combined easily.
Yeah.
Combined easily. If we go into the bubble here, I got this real quick. How many goals do you think he has? This playoffs plus the last 2. And how many clear of next do you think he is?
Well, okay. He probably had maybe 14 or 15 last year. Maybe he's got 31 goals. 31 goals.
I thought you were going to sit on 30. It's 30 on the dot.
I sold him short.
30 goals in 53 games. Now, some would say 22 goals in 32 games is even more impressive. Nathan McKinnon with the second most goals over this span. You know what's a little surprising? Third, Andrei Palat. He's got 20. He iced this one in the empty netter. He and Killorn, to me, are like the unsung heroes on this dynasty. I'm already calling them a dynasty because they are, they're those mid-round picks. Well, Palat was a 7th rounder. And they just grind it out. They make it such a matchup nightmare. They can all kill penalties. They can all play on the power play. This has been about half an hour talking about how the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I'm glad
I don't know who's stopping them.
I'm glad I have a futures on it. I'll say that much. I'm glad I did. I was able to get them. I think at like plus 900 or something like that.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's looking pretty right now. I mean, Colorado's a pretty solid squad.
Yeah,
over there. That hockey deserves this. Hockey deserves a Avs Bolts Stanley Cup final, a 7-game. It would be unbelievable.
Yeah, and we deserve Shesterkin versus Vasilevskiy in the conference final.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to will that into existence.
Yeah, the Russian duo.
Oh, all gas in that series.
We got to get into this. This is probably an off-season topic, so I guess we can kind of put it.
Put it in the notepad.
Yeah, right in the notepad for a couple. But why is it that Canada just can't get themselves? They just can't produce a goalie, man.
I
I'm
know. We
watching the
thought
World
we had Carter
Championships.
Hart. We
I'm
thought we
watching
had
the
Carter
World
Hart.
Championships, and I'm like, why can't we get a goalie? I mean, you look around the league, you look around the NHL, and all these countries. I mean, even Latvia has been able to come up with a couple of goaltenders that can steal games and win you games. And I'm sitting here with Canada, and it's like we have no offense to him, but like Matt Tompkins made the World Championship roster, and it's because he's one of the better ones available at this point, right? Like
I'm trying to think off the obviously Carey Price, but he's got an asterisk at this part of his
Carey
career.
Price. I think Tristan Jarry is probably the next best at this point, honestly.
No.
Darcy Kemper.
Yeah, Kemper's right there.
But again, like, is Kemper in the Vasilevskiy territory, the Igor territory, the Sorokin territory? And I just mentioned Russians, just 3 Russians. It's not even close to those guys. You've got the Danes, you've got Freddie Anderson. They've got those, Freddie. You've got
Mad Sogard, guest Locked On Senders Friday. Go give it a listen.
There you go. Like, you've got
obviously
Markstrom
the Swedes
for Sweden, Markstrom, right? For years there was King Henrik. Like, you've got
Robin
UC Soros for Finland. Like, you've got a bunch of dudes out there.
I'm still trying to rack my brain on like at least one more good Canadian goalie, and like I'm not gonna say Mike Smith, but like he's the only other guy that comes to mind.
Like, if they had to pick to go to the Olympics, let's say this summer, right?
Yeah,
they had to submit it. Boom. Who's making it?
Price.
Like the World Championships.
Like, is Price available?
Yeah.
Price is there for sure.
Probably.
And then it's like I probably put Kemper as my number 2.
And then probably Jarry.
Yeah.
Bennington, another option.
Yeah, he's too hot and cold. Especially if you're a guy Fleury. It's probably still Fleury.
True.
It's probably still Fleury. But I see what you're saying. Like, these guys are aging out. Like, we just thought when we say Price and Fleury, that's the 03 and 05 draft.
That's what I mean, right? So, like, you look at, there's no one who's replenished those guys. I mean, maybe Bennington becomes that next guy. Maybe Mackenzie Blackwood figures it out in New Jersey. Jarry, I guess, is another one of those players. Like, where's the French-Canadian goaltenders that used to always come
Louis
up?
Domingue, come on.
Yeah, Louis Domingue. Yeah, he's not the best though. Like, he's okay, but he's not the best. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
where's the Patrick Waz of the world? Where's the Ken Dry? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the era of Canadian goaltending has really gone away, and I don't know why that is. It's all the goalies seem to be developed in Europe for some reason. We should get into this as an offseason.
Yeah, we can for sure. Shout out Cam Talbot though, good goalie from Ontario. We'll give him a little love there. Matt Murray, back-to-back Cup champ. I know he's had his struggles recently, but there was a time there where he looked decent.
No. No.
What I go back to for Matt Murray, though, is imagine showing up, being nominated for the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year, and already having 2 Stanley Cups under your belt as the starting goalie.
And then didn't win it.
Yeah, then didn't win it.
Yeah.
Wild. Yeah, this is really depressing. Yeah, there's probably some American listeners right now just like laughing at us.
America, like Thatcher Demko, John Gibson, like there's just
Ottinger,
Jake Ottinger,
Spencer Knight. Yeah, the list goes on and on.
It's insane.
Brutal.
Insane.
Depressing. Canada, pump out some tendies. We need it. And we're starting to do our deep dive on Locked On Senders into the top 64 of this year's NHL draft. 0 goalies, let alone Canadians. No goalies of note after we had 2 in the first round last year, including a Canadian, Sebastian Cossa out of Edmonton. I got a live viewing him on Friday. He was leaky in the third period, but good overall. Conference final. What?
Detroit?
Detroit, 16. Yeah, big tendies, like 6'7".
Over Oliver Wallstedt, who's another young Swedish phenom.
Yeah, he just signed too with Minnesota. And Edmonton traded that pick. That made no sense. They traded back.
No, I agree.
Anyways.
All right.
Any final thoughts? I guess your final thought was Canada sucks at producing goalies.
That's kind of the final thought. I didn't think we were going to have the conversation today. We kind of did. We just kind of went down the rabbit hole there.
Makes me sad, man.
It does. It really does. Because we sit here and we're like, oh, Vasilevskiy's so good. Igor, he's so good.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, where's the Canadian content?
I know.
It's just not there. It's not there. I know, American listeners, you've got, good Thatcher Demko.
Too many good ones.
He's a stud, right? Jake Ottinger.
Even like the established guys, John Gibson and Connor Hellebuck. Those are 2 guys unbelievable.
There you go. Exactly. So, But Canada lacking
Canada,
content.
step it up. We need some tendies coming out of Canada, but for now, we'll sit back and we'll watch the complete greatness of Andrei Vasilevskiy, of Igor Shesterkin, of Antti Ranta. The goalies in the Eastern Conference have been absolutely phenomenal this postseason. And next Tuesday, we'll be on to the conference final. Fantastic playoffs, but it's going so fast. Slow down time. We'll talk next Tuesday, but your Locked On NHL host will be back tomorrow on this channel. But for more from us, you can follow Locked On Leafs. You can follow Send Central, Locked On Senators. For Mike DiStefano, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Tuesday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast. Your team every day.